What's up, y'all? This is Mike Manzer with another Manzer Faust Productions video. And, gonna do a quick video. It's July. And, what that means is that Barnes& and Noble, a place I usually never go, is having their Criterion sale this week. So you get your average Criterion title, which is usually $40. You get it for 20. So I took advantage, man, over this past couple of days, and stopped in and got a few titles. So I got 8 titles. I'm gonna go over them real quick. Um, some cool stuff in here. Haven't watched any of these. You know, I've seen all these films for the most part. I think there's two I have not. No, there's just one I haven't seen yet. But all right, let's get into it. So I love this film. It's definitely not one of like the director's most like famous or most like renowned films. I feel like a lot of people have problems with this film, which makes sense once you get into the subject matter. The kind of source material can be kind of controversial for people. I, for one, love the source material of this. It's from a book by one of my favorite kind of dystopian authors. And that's Crash by David Cronenberg, based on the J.G. Ballard story about people who are turned on by car crashes. Great cast in this too. You got James Spader, Holly Hunter. Very, dark, um, very Cronenberg. Definitely the kind of sexual hang-ups you would get from films like Rabid and even Videodrome, Dead Ringers. This kind of just like dystopian, like disturbing aspect of this film. Very confrontational film. Very melancholic. Definitely kind of takes its own kind of, um, you know, branches a bit off from the book, the source material. Definitely sort of a different vibe, but it's Cronenberg. He's gonna go in his own directions with it, have kind of his own stamp on it. But I really do love Crash. It's been a long time since I've watched it though, because I remember this during my youth was one of those films I saw on IFC. I'm pretty sure either that or Sundance Channel, and both those channels were very influential on me as a young kid. Saw a lot of my favorite films on there for the first time. Just kind of, this looks interesting. Let me watch this. And Crash definitely stood out. It's definitely like an early Cronenberg for me too, which is not good. Uh, this is definitely not a Cronenberg you want to watch your first time out. But yeah, really cool. And I want to dig into these special features, see if there's anything of J.G. Ballard talking about what he thinks about this film, because I'm not really sure what he will say about it. But yeah, so that's Crash. Make sure it's the Cronenberg Crash if you pick this up. You don't want to get that one best picture at the Oscars, even though it's like one of the dumbest films I've ever seen. Um, I know there's like an Arrow release of this as well, which I might still pick up. That's on 4K. But, at least wanted to get this. Criterion usually does a pretty solid job with the discs. So, yeah, Crash. Up next, man, oh man, this is probably my favorite of the lot. Not my favorite film, but definitely like, holy shit. This is like, I love this director, I love his whole crew, his kind of legacy. This is definitely like one of the top tier midnight films of the 70s, up there with, El Topo and Eraserhead, all amazing films. I'm not really the biggest Rocky Horror Picture fan, but it falls into that category as well. This one definitely falls in with that. Just its transgressive, queer atmosphere. And right now, I need a lot of these kind of films because, yeah, shit's bad out there, and support these folks. And yeah, so Pink Flamingos, classic. I fucking love this film. Otherwise, I only had this on like a crappy beat up VHS. I think it was like a 25th anniversary VHS or something like that. So definitely happy to have this in an HD transfer. Criterion killed it on this release. So you got this awesome slipcover made to look like a paper bag. I love that aesthetic. It looks like you got it from behind the desk at your local video store. I love this image, though. The painting of Divine. I love it. I want that on a fucking t-shirt. All right? I'm not even saying that ironically. I love that design. Get this. I like the back, how it's like almost in like a, museum. And what's cool about this, every once in a while, Criterion will put out really cool, like, kind of booklets and stuff. And I love this, made to look like the filthiest person alive. Yeah, the little, very cool. Some write-ups of the film, some reviews. Love it. This is what I love, like, Criterion for, They don't always go all out. Some of their releases are definitely bare bones, but this is very cool. Not much to say about Pink Flamingos. You know what this movie is if you're familiar with John Waters. It's probably one of his best. I would probably put Multiple Maniacs and what was the other one? Oh god. I like Desperate Living a lot too, so I'd probably put those above this, but I really do love the history of Pink Flamingos. It's a fun film. It definitely speaks to my schlocky shock filmmaker inside of myself. Love John Waters. Definitely a big inspiration on myself. So, yeah, Pink Flamingos. Thrilled to dive into that. Up next, this is a newer, I believe I first saw this through Criterion Channel, which definitely has a lot of cool stuff that I wouldn't have found otherwise. I had a ball with this. This is almost like a precursor to In Living Color because of the people involved with it, and that is Robert Townsend's Hollywood Shuffle. This is a jam. I'm trying to remember what they have for the booklet. Yeah, they got a nice little booklet. You have the screen segment of the screenplay that he's auditioning for, some audition photos, some cool write-ups. Man, this is fun. I love Hollywood Shuffle. I love like kind of meta commentaries on show business and Hollywood. This kind of follows a young black man going throughout like Hollywood, trying to break out as like a voice, leading man kind of thing. Just like amazing cast. Got Keenan Ivory Wayans. The dad from John Witherspoon from Friday and Boondocks shows up throughout this. So he's very fun to watch. Just great. Got a lot of bits on like different. You got the advertisement for black acting school and all the other fun stuff. Basically, he's kind of commenting on how like how they cast black people in films at that time. It's always like the smooth talking pimp, or like the crackhead and preacher, the stereotypical parts you got kind of fed over from, some of the lesser blaxploitation films of the 70s. Um, you know, the funniest thing about Robert Townsend is how much he plays into the whenever he goes to audition, he's always like, "Oh yeah, you definitely have a Eddie Murphy quality to you." So a lot of people want him to be Eddie Murphy, and it's kind of funny because Robert Townsend directed Raw, probably one of the greatest concert stand-up concert films of all time. Yeah, very entertaining, very subversive, um, classic. Definitely would pair well with like "I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker," um, all those kind of classic late 80s satirical farce kind of films. I love Hollywood Shuffle. Gonna have to dig back into it again. But yeah, fun. Love this release too. So I grabbed a shit ton of Scorsese. That's what I do. I love Scorsese, probably one of my favorite directors. Definitely my favorite living director. There's not a lot of stuff that I think would be considered bad. A lot of people bring up Hugo because it was more of a studio film, more made for a family. I don't remember hating it though. Those parts of it I enjoyed. Definitely does not feel like Scorsese. But even the films that aren't typical Scorsese, I really enjoy. King of Comedy, Last Temptation of Christ, I think is gorgeous. Probably like the best film representation of Christ's life. Cape Fear, his remake of Cape Fear is fantastic. I feel like De Niro playing the Mitchum character from the original, just unbelievable. And I love the original Cape Fear, so that's a really hard to compete with film. But man, even some of his newer films, I really love. As kind of dumb as it is, and didn't get a lot of great reviews. But The Aviator, I had a lot of fun with. I feel like DiCaprio as his new muse really works well for him. Just solid. Wolf of Wall Street I thought was great. Almost plays off of kind of like a satire of the Scorsese formula. It kind of plays around with it. It's a funny ass film. I think Jonah Hill gives probably his best performance in that. Really enjoy Wolf of Wall Street, and it's really dials in. And what he did great with his like gangster films that he's famous for is, making likable people out of the worst human beings on the planet, just like, and Jordan Belfort definitely falls into that category for sure. I still want to get that 4K of that Arrow put out. I think that's such a beautiful release. But yeah, so I got a few films. This is very cool. Probably one of the greatest concert films of all time. A lot of great like guest appearances, and just the songs are amazing, and it's really kind of shows a band at the end of its kind of run. Just unbelievable film. That is The Last Waltz, focused on the band. Yeah, just like it's just off the top. I love the band. Songs from Big Pink, and the second one, I can't remember the name of the second one. Damn it! But just amazing albums. Up on Cripple Creek, The Way, all the hits they would have. Just amazing music. You got a lot of great appearances from Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Van Morrison, Muddy Waters, Bob Dylan. Just amazing little concert film. Focusing on the final shows of, I think it's one or two shows. I might be wrong though, but it's the final shows of the band. Just amazing film. Scorsese really knew how to do a great concert documentary. Early on, he was a head editor on Woodstock, which is an amazing documentary. I think like my some of my favorite concert films of the '60s are Woodstock, the Monterey Pop Festival film, and I really do love "Gimme Shelter." I should have picked that one up, but you only have so much room. Uh, but yeah, Last Waltz, great songs. The guest appearances really add to these song. Like, just would have been an amazing concert to see back in the day. The theater is just this gorgeous old theater. I'm trying to remember where they filmed this. Oh, San Francisco's Wonderland Ballroom on Thanksgiving 1976. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Just so great. One of my favorite concert films of all time, as I've said. Up next, kind of an underrated Scorsese classic. It took me a little while to see this one, but I love this film. Again, it really plays off its 80s aesthetic, the kind of like man who cannot catch a break. Just things keep getting worse and worse for him throughout the film. Really entertaining. I like this little inner booklet packaging as well. After Hours. And this is in 4K. I didn't even realize that until after I picked it up at the ZUHD disc, which is cool. Yeah, I kind of want to check it out in 4K, so that worked out very well. Another one definitely will look good on the projector. Yeah, just you know, timepiece of Manhattan in the late 80s, mid to late 80s. This is 85. He gets involved with a hooker. Just, and it goes crazy from there. All these bizarre, like, just gets worse and worse throughout the night. Just everything just goes haywire in this dude's life. He gets framed for a bunch of stuff. I love this booklet with the wanted poster kind of thing. A lot of great satire, commentary on kind of office culture, especially in the 80s when that was just like yuppie culture was like the thing. It was taking over in a huge way, and Scorsese definitely has a lot to say about that. Just very cool aesthetic. You got a lot of the neon. Very well played. It's played like in the movie in the 80s would actually look. It doesn't have the modern kind of aesthetic. I've talked about this with stuff like Alphabet City, where you get modern stuff by Nicholas Winding Refn. And even though I do love those films, as I've said, it's just this is the way that it actually did look, and I like this aesthetic a lot more. It's also, Scorsese going back to New York when it's, 42nd Street is being demolished at this time. Uh, you know, Other films, James Glickenhaus's Shakedown, you get that kind of the last breath of 42nd Street, that old grindhouse scene at the time before everything started getting gentrified into the, fucking Giuliani period where everything looks like fucking Disneyland now. This is definitely a great snapshot in the 80s of New York City. And who better to do New York City than Martin Scorsese? Great film, very underrated in his filmography, but entertaining, funny. You feel bad for the main character, even though he is yuppie scum. Just great. Everybody's great in this. Zana Arquette is really fun. Very good. Love this film. Up next, a modern, recent film. I don't think it's his most recent. Really, really enjoyed this though. Really great packaging too. You get this kind of digibook. Very cool. Yeah, Irishman. What really sold me on this when it was being made is that cast: De Niro, Pacino, and Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci hadn't made a film in a very long time, so seeing him back and with Scorsese and De Niro, you get the crew back together, and also you have Al Pacino playing Jimmy Hoffa, and man, it's hard to do a great Jimmy Hoffa after God, Jack Nicholson played him in the '90s, and I love Hoffa. People aren't huge on Hoffa, but I think it's a great film. I love, and I have an interest in the mob and crime and everything like that, and also labor activism. And Hoffa, his story combines everything together, and I really think like Jack Nicholson blew it out of the park, but Al Pacino plays him much differently, and I really love his performance. Again, Al Pacino, I haven't really been paying attention to the last bunch of years. De Niro, too, De Niro fell into his awful comedies, really kind of just hasn't made a lot of great stuff. He did have The Good Shepherd, which I haven't seen since I saw it in theaters, and I thought that was pretty good. Again, that was one of the last times I remember seeing Joe Pesci in something. He's great in this, he almost comes off as somebody who does not age. I mean, he does look older and stuff, but man, and you also have like Harvey Keitel showing up in this. Amazing, amazing epic. It's Scorsese doing the almost 4-hour epic into this guy's life. It's an interesting story. You get the Scorsese needle drops. He's known for plenty of Rolling Stones and Derek and the Dominoes throughout this film. Just man, you can't go wrong. It's great, and it's got a shit ton of special features. Like when Criterion does it right, they do it right. That is a massive amount, so I'm gonna have a lot to dig into. Just very cool seeing all these like veterans get back together and do it the way it should be done, making a great epic story. Get the cool booklet with I Heard You Paint Houses, which is the book that was used as source material. Some great write-ups. You always get really great booklets with these Criterion releases. Very cool. Can't wait to dig into this. So, Irishman, 2019. Just a fantastic, fantastic release. And to end my Scorsese segment of this, had to go with the early shorts, Scorsese shorts. So you have Italianamerican, American Boy, The Big Shave, It's Not Just You, Murray, and What's a Nice Girl Like You Doing in a Place Like This. So definitely the standout on here is Italianamerican, which is about Scorsese's parents, who show up in a lot of his films until they passed away. You can really see his influence when his parents are getting sick from the film, in the film Bringing Out the Dead, which, man, if that gets a Criterion release, that is such an amazing film that I don't think a lot of people know about in Scorsese's catalog. And not only is it Scorsese with Nick Cage at peak Nick Cage. There's shots in Bringing Out the Dead where you could swear to God it was a precursor to something like Mandy when he's driving the car and looking all psychotic as Red. You could see shots like that in Bringing Out the Dead. The amazing use of TB sheets by Van Morrison throughout that film. Fucking what the fuck is going on with that film? I guess it's rights, maybe, because of the music. That's never held up a Scorsese release. We need, goddammit, Bringing Out the Dead. Paul Schrader wrote the script. Release Bringing Out the Dead. Anyway, rant over. Italianamerican definitely stands out because it's just this very tender portrait of, Scorsese as a film student talking to his parents and kind of melding them into these kind of camera, these movie stars. You see his mother show up throughout his career. He's in good. Both of his parents are in Goodfellas. His dad is one of the guys that waxed Joe Pesci towards the end, and his mother is famous for that scene at the dinner table with the painting of the dog and the sailor. I love. I could get stuck talking about Goodfellas for way too long. I really, as far as like his kind of like social commentary and his satire, to go with what I was saying about After Hours, it's not just you, Murray, is really cool. It's like a job interview kind of thing where the boss is kind of telling him these stories, kind of these proverbial like moral tales, trying to lead them through the business world and meld them into like just interesting plays on stuff. I don't know if they have it on Blu-ray yet. Another great one from his early years that should be released is some Who's That Knocking at My Door? Very interesting use of like music. That was probably one of the original like needle drop Scorsese pieces where he just uses music in a very interesting way, very subversive way a lot of times as well. Think of Mean Streets, the opening shot that he edits to of Harvey Keitel looking in the mirror and then going to lie down. It's edited to Be My Baby, and just iconic scene. I could do like an entire series on why I love Scorsese, and this is very cool to pick up. Just get his early student films. Great like portrait of like the artist in the making. So yeah, Scorsese shorts. Thrilled to have this. And I'm going to end it on a documentary recent from 2021. One of my all-time favorite groups. Have not seen this, so this is the one I have not seen yet. But holy shit, am I interested in diving into this. Yeah. The Velvet Underground documentary. Oh, wow. Man, again, I could make an entire video on the Velvet Underground. My favorite record by them is definitely White Light, White Heat, but I also love, Aniko. Loaded has some great songs, Sweet Jane, Rock and Roll. Obviously Heroin's a big song. White Light, White Heat is probably one of my favorite like 60s like just burner rock songs. Amazing cover by David Bowie too, off of Pinups. I fucking adore the Velvet Underground. Just such a like chaotic, visceral, like just a complete fuck you to the hippie generation that was starting to fall apart at during the late 60s, starting to get commodified into like this Time Life bullshit we see now as a image of the 60s generation, the hippies and everything like that. This was definitely fucking off everything about that. It was definitely a aggressive stand against everything that would come to represent dark, sleazy New York, Greenwich Village, like underbelly, songs about like heroin and sex workers and trans people and everything like that. Just some of the most intense, honest songs, like Waiting for My Man, have a upbeat little like bouncy folk track about waiting for your drug dealer. It's just amazing. I love Lou Reed as well. Just an amazing voice. His storytelling abilities within these songs. I One of my all-time favorite songs is Venus and Furs, the John Cale viola drone, and that is just beautiful. Just a very interesting band in their time period. Very noisy too. You can definitely hear those early John Cale drones having a huge influence on, no wave and, the kind of industrial stuff that would come out in the 80s, which is growing out of the noise scene. So very cool. I can't wait to dive into this. I'll talk about this in a Stop, Watch, and Listen in the future. But yeah, Velvet Underground documentary. Very, very cool. And yeah, so that's a short little video about what I picked up during the Criterion sale. I believe it still goes on for another week, so if you get the chance, if you have a Barnes & Noble nearby, go up and pick up a couple of Criterion films. There's a lot of great stuff that they've been coming out with. Didn't get the one that I was really out for. I don't think it's part of the sale anyway, and that's Targets. I really want to check out Targets. I've heard mixed reviews on how great of a film it actually is, but like it being Karloff's one of his last films, and also the kind of parallel it holds to like what's going on today with all of these like spree shootings and the violence in our culture. It's definitely an interesting film that I want to dive into, and like I said, I haven't seen it, so I've been waiting for a real good release of that to come out, so I definitely want to pick up that. And Bogdanovich early on, definitely down with that. I love Bogdanovich, great filmmaker. There's a couple of others, but there's the sale in December, or November, so I'll be able to take advantage of it then for sure. I will, and I'll do another video like this talking about what I pick up then. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's the Hordes of Manzerfaust, and that'll about do it. So this is Mike Manzer with another Manzerfaust Productions video. Stay metal.